Who's ready to get personal? Okay, 7 things that you can do to help address and deal with chronic or persistent loose stools or diarrhea. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. The only reason why I wanted to share this is that I have dealt with this personally for about 7 years now. And I think I found some tools that I wish were thrown at me, but I had to discover them by myself. It was a long journey. And I hope that it's at least helpful for someone out there to figuring out how to heal this or alternative ways to look at it. I'm going to be very upfront. Once I hit about point 4 or 5, it's going to start getting into a little bit of a woo-woo area. So if that stuff makes you uncomfortable, feel free to stop it there. But if you're interested in that, I highly encourage you to watch it all the way through and take whatever pieces of it that you can to implement into your life. So without further ado, point number 1, I highly recommend that you do some kind of a gut check, whether that, and that's going to look different for different people. You know, for me personally, I was diagnosed with celiac disease when I was, it was 2014. So if you have chronic persistent symptoms, aside from just the bowel movements or irritability like pain, I dealt with really chronic pain for a long time, then that's something to definitely look into. If you are looking at, well, I have loose stools, but everything else seems pretty much fine, it's just the stools are kind of funky. A few things that you could potentially look at trying are elimination diets or food allergy panel. You can do those through like a stool test. I highly recommend Viome. It's one of the ones that I've really enjoyed using, actually. It's been pretty easy and straightforward. Also, GIFX is another one that I've had pretty good luck with. And those will basically just tell you, some foods you may not have a long-term allergy to, but they could be causing irritation to your system for whatever reason it may be. And it's really important to be aware of, what foods are actually causing irritation. Because if you're already trying to heal gut lining for whatever reason and it's irritated, chances of you having picture perfect stools not super high. So definitely I would highly consider trying to at least do a little bit more research there. And everything's going to work different for different people. So try the elimination diet. Keep in mind, it takes about 2 to 3 days, or it can take up to 2 to 3 days for a food allergy to actually present itself. So knowing that, if you eat something on Thursday and you don't have diarrhea until a Sunday, most people wouldn't think those are necessarily linked, but you have to be conscientious of that. So make sure that if you're eliminating foods, I say eliminate it for 1 or 2 months at a time to really see if you're noticing any big changes. And when you reintroduce the foods, again, reintroduce it, allow up to 3 days for that allergy to potentially present itself. Second thing to keep in mind is supplementation. And this is not something that I think is entirely necessary for everyone, but I have found it to be pretty helpful for myself. I do take digestive enzymes. I use Dr. Tennant's, but I take digestive enzymes whenever I eat meals. And those basically just help the body to break down the fats and the proteins that are in the foods that you're eating. So if you are like me and your body already really struggles to break those foods down, it just gives you a little bit of a natural extra boost to really helping those foods to unpack themselves so that they can actually be digested, and more than that, to be absorbed by your body. Other things to look into if you do have actual damage to your gut lining like I did, there are supplements that can help with that, like L-glutamine. I took L-glutamine for quite some time, and that just is designed to help repair the tissue of the intestinal tract, and I found that to be really helpful. And then as well as, look at, possibly do some blood work, see if you're low in anything. I know that I was deficient in zinc for a very long time, and a very common, I don't want to say side effect, but a very common symptom of low zinc or zinc deficiency is chronic diarrhea. So, and a lot of these things are a vicious cycle too. It's like, if you don't have enough of that nutrient, your body is not going to absorb it very well, and it's gonna, like, if I don't have enough zinc, my body's gonna have diarrhea, so I'm constantly getting rid of the zinc that I am getting in, and so I'm never able to fully replenish that. So that is something that I think is grounds for looking into additional supplementation if that's something that you're interested in. The third point is to take into account what your hormones are doing. This kind of breaks into quite a few different things. So for women, birth control. I've had a lot of issues with my bowel movements as a result of birth control, and I had no idea until probably about 2 years in, and I realized, wow, my hormones are really effed up. I'm having a lot of terrible responses to this. This is really something that I should look into. For everyone, men and women alike, being in a stress state, having that sympathetic nervous system constantly activated and just being in that fight or flight mode all the time, definitely it's for sure going to aggravate your intestinal lining, and is for sure going to aggravate your system. So if you're in that, fight or flight response, like if you've ever seen a zebra getting chased, it immediately evacuates its bowels before it starts sprinting, and that is the response that we as mammals are designed to have, which is just release anything that's going to hold you back from getting out of the situation that you need to get out of. So do keep in mind, it's really important to monitor your stress levels and keep in mind if there's specific things that are really aggravating those and increasing your stress response. On the flip side of that, it's really important to do things that actively boost your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest system. This is where things are going to start to get a little bit woo. So if you're scared, feel free to, jump off here. But deep breathing and meditation are two of the most well-known things for helping to actually boost your parasympathetic nervous system. And this can look different. A lot of people get scared of meditation because they say, I can't sit still for, 15 minutes or an hour or however long and think about nothing. It actually stresses them out more. If that's the case, you don't have to just sit and do nothing. You can absolutely, go for a walk and just focus on your breathing, or look at a candle and focus on your breath. Do things that really just help to bring you into a calmer state. And if listening to a Zen instructor is not that, then don't do it. But find something that's going to help you to bring your body to a more calm state. My favorite breathing method is to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4, breathe out for 8. I think that's one of the most important and effective breathing mechanisms I have ever come across. So if you're like, I don't know what to do, there's no way in hell I'm going to do meditation, just take 5 minutes a day and really just focus on your breathing. Fifth point that has been really helpful for me is I started doing acupuncture. And more recently, I have started also looking into energy work and other things that can help align the organ systems within the body. But acupuncture as a whole, I have found sensational benefits from it. I'm a huge advocate for acupuncture. Highly recommend it to people for more than just, of course, loose stools. But that is one of the most healing things that I have found in just helping to really regulate my body and keep it in a more stable state. All right, so sixth thing is if you're into crystals or rocks or anything, Orange Calcite has been one of my favorites. I actually carry a little Orange Calcite in my pocket almost all the time, except very inconveniently today. It's out in my living room. But Orange Calcite and other stones that are of yellow or orange color tend to be very healing for the chakras that are associated with this kind of central region. So if you're into that kind of stuff, highly recommend carrying that around. If you like the idea of experimenting with colors that you see a lot or that you're wearing, yellow and orange are very, very helpful for dealing with that area. The final thing, we're gonna get super woo here, but I think this is so important. I think this is actually one of the most important points of all of this. And this has kind of been the accumulation of this sort of self-study that I've had for the last 7 years, is the concept of rejecting the self. And bowel movements or your poops are basically, it's your body rejecting what it does not want. Obviously, that's very healthy. It's very healthy for you to have a bowel movement. You should have as many bowel movements as you eat in a day. But a lot of people have very, significantly less than that, or even if you do have that regular amount, but it's consistently loose, keep that in mind. Your body is trying to get something out. It's trying to reject something. If you have an internal rejection of self, that's going to be reflected in some way, shape, or form in your body. And for me, I think a lot of that has actually come out in stools. So, if there's something about yourself, your life that you know to be true and you are rejecting that truth, perhaps it's, worth considering taking some time and really investigating that. Constipation, just to give a little bit of a context for this, constipation in my eyes, from what I've seen with patients, clients, friends, etc., is that tends to look more like, if you're holding on to something, or you're not letting something go, or you're stifling something, which can be very similar, but it's important to recognize, like, do I have one of these going on, and is this something that I really need to address? So the ultimate woo moment here, for me personally, I have dealt with a lot of personal spiritual things in my past, and I have rejected a lot of that, and I've always known I'm very sensitive to energies, and that's always been the case, but until recently I've sort of rejected certain portions of that. Like, I'm not going to say I'm a clairvoyant, but I have had you know, a lot of quote unquote psychic experiences. And a lot of that is very terrifying to me. I mean, it still is, but I'm getting more accustomed to that. And for a long time, I just completely rejected that. I completely shut that out. And I think, you know, for the last 7 years, more than that, I've really known this to be a truth about myself, and I have not allowed it to actually come out. So my high encouragement for you would be, if you are dealing with any kind of personal self-rejection or anything that you are just, you know, not letting come out, not letting be the genuine, authentic self that you are showing to the world, that is something really, really worth considering. And everyone's story is going to be different. Yours may be totally different than mine. These things may not work at all for you, but they may work wonders. So I would highly encourage, if you're dealing with any of this, to take this into consideration, or if you know someone dealing with it, feel free to share it with them. I know it's a very personal problem or a personal topic, but it is something that I think we really need to get comfortable talking about. So if you want to talk about it, feel free to reach out to me. I'm very open about this kind of stuff, and I would love to be of service in any way that I can. All right, I think I'm gonna go sit outside and enjoy the fresh air because it looks really nice, and I think I'm gonna go for a sunset hike. Enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers. Much love.